everybody. Welcome to the webinar. What we'll do for the next couple minutes, because we know that some people will show up just a tad late. Why don't everybody jump into wherever you're joining, whether it be YouTube, whether it be this Zoom link, but go to the chat, tell us where you are from. Love to know who's attending and from where. It's always fun to see not only sometimes all over the US, but sometimes multiple countries. And we might give a shout out. Jorge might give a shout out. But we'll do that for a couple minutes. Tell us where you're from. And then we will join by introducing our distinguished panel of guests. And then we'll get started on this amazing webinar on why seminary and why redemption. But with that, oh, there we go. Jim Brooks from Chattanooga. So I am getting some people attending from the Zoom link. I think Jorge said we've got a few hundred already attending, but let's go ahead and get started. This is going to be, again, we're going to try to keep this to an hour, trying to be mindful of busy schedules and so on. And so, again, throughout the webinar, as different panelists are giving their input on redemption, their experience as students, we also have faculty. Go ahead and ask questions wherever you are. Again, Jorge and John are going to monitor that, and we will address that towards the end. So again, if there's something during today's webinar that maybe didn't make sense or you need to clear the air, go ahead and put that in the chat wherever you're attending, and we will address those later. But with that, let me give you an outline of today's webinar. We're going to talk about why seminary? Why would you think or consider about this journey called seminary? And then we're going to talk about redemption. Why Redemption Seminary? And then we're going to talk to students and faculty. We've got some questions that a lot of people have asked. So we're going to address some of the main questions. And then we'll tell you how to possibly join Redemption Seminary. So we'll give you the website and so on. But first, you see a bunch of faces in the room. And so I want to introduce, again, our distinguished panel of guests. First, we have Hannah Seymour. And I'm going to make sure I get this correctly by reading the official. I said, everybody, give me a couple lines. I don't need the, the full page bio, but give me a couple lines so I can honor you and let everybody know who's joining today. But Hannah Seymour is an author, speaker, podcaster. Her book, The College Girls Survival Guide, and her podcast, No Matter What with Hannah Seymour. And she has another book, 25-Day Bible Studies, all aimed to give women a biblical foundation so they can be the person God created them to be no matter what. Then we have Gregory. Raise your hand there, Gregory. Gregory Richardson is an ethical hacker. Well, that's a whole nother webinar that maybe will be part 2. Redemption graduate this year, whoop, whoop, leader in the cyber security industry for the past 20 plus years. He's spoken in front of subcommittees of the United Nations and other talking about cybersecurity, and routinely presents to groups of professionals, companies, and so on, and several thousands of people. So welcome, Gregory. Next, we have Jessica Thompson. Known Jessica for a long time. I'm surprised Padres fan is not the first part of your bio, but I'll throw that in there because you didn't. But as a student and soon graduating student of Redemption, author, speaker, pastor, she has a long history of ministry experience in women and family ministries. She earned her bachelor's degree in theology from the Bible College at Berean Bible College in Palm Way, California. That's kind of where you live in that area, right? Yes. That's why all that sun is kind of pouring in. I don't know much about that being up here in Washington. Next, we have Elyse Fitzpatrick, and let me connect those dots. Elyse made Jessica. She's Jessica's mother, author, speaker, also Padres fan. I got to put that in here as well. Member of the Redemption Advisory Council, along with myself and others. Elyse holds a certificate in biblical counseling from CCEF and an MA, and she's a frequent speaker. One of my favorites, honestly. People ask me all the time, hey, we need a fantastic speaker at our event. And I don't know how many times I've given out Elyse's business card. Been married for 40 years, has 3 adult children and 6 really, she put this, adorable grandchildren. Yes. Aren't all grandchildren adorable though? I've never seen a bio where, maybe one wasn't that adorable. But anyway, Jorge is our host. That's what we see up there. He is our tech extraordinaire, is a speaker at crossexamine.org. Many of you are familiar with Cross-Examine, amazing ministry. He's the technology and innovation director for the ministry. And he's also the founder of Worldview Media and a proud Heiserite. He's got his hat on. Let me show my hat. I know there's some jealousy now. How do I get a Heiserite hat? Maybe Jorge later will explain how you can do that. But thank you, Jorge. When we decided to put this thing together, we were like, we have to have Jorge be the producer. So thank you. And then lastly, John Schwant is the president of Redemption Seminary, previous leader of mobile education, which is a massive department at Logos Bible Software, and author and teacher of biblical Greek. Probably the worst week of my entire life was when I took Greek in a week with Dr. John Schwant. It was absolutely horrible. I tried. I did. It's not horrible because of John. I just could not take in an entire, Greek class in 5 days. Well, I still have PTSD. But anyway, and who am I? I'm Scott. Been with Logos now for 26 years. And friends with most. Just met Gregory this morning. So soon Gregory will be a friend of mine as well. And good to be here. Oh, and I forgot to introduce Joel Wingo, the academic dean. You know what? I didn't check my email. Joel, let me see here to find out how amazing Joel is and all the many degrees he's got. But Joel is joining us from Redemption. But most importantly, he's the guy you got to know because he's the academic dean. And we will ask him a few questions today as well. So with that, we've got our bios done. And now let's get to the point of why we're here. John and I had a conversation this morning on kind of how we would like this webinar to go today. And I told John that I just finished purchasing the upgrade to my sound system in my living room. And I'm obsessive about reading reviews on speakers and sound bars. And I watch YouTube videos. And my favorite YouTube video is the person that can pack in the most information about something in the quickest amount of time. I don't want to watch a 3-hour video on one feature of the speaker. I want 30 features done in 30 seconds, if that's possible. So today is going to be very informative. That's the point, is to give you as much information about not only the seminary experience, but also Redemption Seminary. So I thought, and this will live, we will post this obviously on the Redemption site. I think many of Dr. Heiser's sites and ministries will also post. So this will live out in cyberspace for a long time and should be a good basis for you, again, to get information, again, on seminary and Redemption. But the first question is for Elyse Fitzpatrick. I thought it would be great, Elyse, especially with how long you've been in ministry, how many different denominations you work with, ministries you work with. I mean, you have an amazing Rolodex. Why seminary? Why would anybody want to pursue a seminary education? Elyse.
Thanks, Scott. And Scott, you're the king of grandparents. So I just got to bow to you because you bring wonderful little animals to your grandchildren. So we'll get there. Yeah. So why seminary? First of all, because Jesus said that we're to love God with our whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. And part of what it means to love God with your mind is to learn, to seek to learn, to seek to understand. And so what I want to do, and I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. If this was available to me 30 years ago, it would have been so helpful in helping me not to make the missteps I've made, in not having the knowledge that I really needed. So what does seminary do? You know, it helps us it gives us a deeper understanding. That's what I want. I want a deeper understanding of who God is and what it means to love him with my whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. And it also gives me a bigger view of Christianity. So it's very easy for me just to look at my little corner of Christianity, but seminary helps to broaden my understanding. And it helps me to grow in my love of God and his word. And then, and this is the most important thing, it helps me to love my neighbor better. Because the more I know about the Lord, the more I will love my neighbor better. And that's really what I want to do.
Amen. 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 Great reasons to go to seminary for sure. With that, I thought we've got kind of the reasons to go to seminary, but now let's shift our focus over to Dr. Schwant. Two big questions for you. With that in mind, why redemption? You know, what are the distinctives? Because there's many options out there today. Why Redemption Seminary?
Well, thanks. We started Redemption because seminary, just the structure of it, the traditional model, just made it not available for adults, people with families, people with careers and jobs. You had to leave. And this actually really was heavy on Mike Heiser's heart. Was he had friends that had to leave their church, had to leave their career to go to seminary, and it just crushed them financially. It just kind of wrecked their lives, and they ended up not even finishing their start into the ministry because of the system. And I think it's kind of a human condition problem. It's not, I don't want to blame, one particular seminary. We just have, as part of being humans, we love our structures, and then we end up serving our structures. And so we have to be vigilant as we produce structures that they're to be made for us, for people. So we took a reset when we decided to redesign a seminary. And so we thought we wanted to pack as much quality in there, but have it be accessible, have it be affordable, have it be 100% online, have it be achievable for adults with busy schedules, with kids, so it can't be high stress. You don't want your spiritual formation course to wreck your spiritual life. That doesn't make any sense at all. So, it takes a lot of innovation to do that, because traditional school is either from the medical industry or from the law industry is built to weed people out, and we want to weave people in. So it's a different model. It's a workbook, it's apprenticeship, it's a discipleship approach. And to do that, we needed to develop a model that allows people to work at their own pace. Maybe that's just your hour a day or Bible study effort, but it's programmatic, so you can step through it and then meet with a one-on-one with a mentor who can give that guidance along the way. So it's relational. And the last point is it's not just preparatory. A lot of traditional model is to prepare you for a future ministry. We wanted to weave this work into your current ministry. So whatever your current relationships, how is this course? It could be on church history. It could be on systematic theology, but how does it affect your current relationships, your current ministry? And so there should be immediate benefits, not just a hope for benefit. So those are some of the key distinctives for Redemption.
So basically being holistic, I went to seminary, and I had a good experience, but I did feel it was compartmentalized from my family, from my, as much as I tried to integrate all of that together, I don't feel it was a focus of the seminary. And it's one of the things I really appreciate about Redemption. So how you kind of alluded, but we did a webinar maybe 7 months ago with our dear friend, Dr. Michael Heiser, as we know, passed away recently. But how does Redemption kind of fit into his philosophy, again, of theological education? Because I think it is some people, I think it was even Gregory before we went live said, I didn't even know that Dr. Heiser was foundational in the development of Redemption. That's Mike, right? Just this humble, brilliant scholar guy. But how does Redemption kind of align in with his philosophy of education?
Well, I've known Mike for a long time. He was the first mobile ed teacher, professor. So that's where this whole idea started rolling, was with mobile ed at Logos. And then we decided, well, how can we package an actual degree around this? And so he was instrumental not only in mobile ed, but then he was a founding board member of Redemption. And a big driver was those relationships that he had, that he felt so sorry for his friends that the structure just ground them up. So that was a big motivator for him starting the school. Another part was, he likes to ask questions. He is not only is he humble, he's courageous. He's not fearful to look, and ask questions that might end up changing his whole system or changing other people's systems. And that is rare in ecclesiology or in just traditional systems, because if you start probing, asking serious questions, you might be out of a job, because suddenly your denomination, that doesn't quite fit with, you're still within the kingdom, but now, and so I think there's some questions, especially in the academia realm, that don't get asked for fear of that. And so that was another impetus here, is how do we have approach an institution that allows for that Christian liberty in academic thought, that you can ask those challenging questions. So he was and I think we've done that with our statement of faith and bringing in professors from and mentors from all different denominations. But that was a big one, is to have that variety and the freedom to ask those probing questions.
Yeah, and you just answered a question I was going to throw to you in a couple minutes, but, Redemption addressing the different multi-denominational traditions. That is another distinctive, especially when you look at the lineup of, when I'm talking about Redemption, one of the things I said is like, Redemption got all the rock stars out there. It's like most seminaries have like one or two very prominent names. Oh, I recognize that. And then you look at they're great teachers, brilliant, but I don't know them. The entire lineup of Redemption is like, wow, incredible. That's awesome. So a definite distinctive. So let's throw a question to a student. Jessica, the smile gets bigger and bigger as I know you are very close to being done.
No, she graduated.
She's done.
Yeah.
I actually finished a couple weeks ago, I think. Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, that's so awesome. All right. That's the reason for the big smile. So how do you expect completing this degree at Redemption? How is that going to, it's probably already impacted your ministry, but what is your expectation now that you are a graduate?
Yeah. I got to say that one of the things that maybe I wasn't expecting, but one of the things that has happened is, I have come out of this experience really humbled by how little I knew. And I think that's a really great thing. And how little I still, don't get me wrong, I learned a ton, but I think over and over again, I was like, wow, this is, there's so much more. And I think that's one of the things that Dr. Heiser, there's so much more than what I'm actually even studying. Even the ancient Near East context, I learned so much. And yet I'm so humbled by how much I still don't know. And so I think that humility is going to serve me well. It has already. It does serve me well as I'm looking to minister and share this knowledge with other people. It's helped me to understand scripture in a totally different way. What I've learned over the past year and a half, my goodness. And you mentioned earlier that I've written some books, and I'm like looking back on them, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. All the things that I said. Um, I trust that it's in God's hands, and I'm not denying what I said. I'm just saying I think that I probably would have worded things a little bit differently with the knowledge I have now. So I guess that humility, the being able to share that knowledge in a way where I don't think I thought I was a lot smarter than I actually am or was. And so now there's a humility in being able to share the truths that I've learned. And a humility that I even get to learn these things. Man, it's really great. It's really amazing. It's such a blessing that I was able to spend this time broadening, deepening my knowledge of the word and really of who God is and how beautiful the story of redemption is. And so for me, I think what I would have expected to say when I started this program was, oh, I'm going to be able to teach the Bible better. And now I'm like, wow, I don't really know very much at all. So let me just share with you what I do know. And the goodness of God in bringing me through that process. So I guess not really what I expected to learn, but I think it's what I needed to learn.
Amen. Amen. All right, Hannah, this is a kind of a similar question, but what are the benefits to your current ministry, writing, podcasting, and so on, by taking the class, like immediate benefits for you?
Yeah, I think really similar to Jessica, the humility that seminary has given me, and I think the grace for going, okay, whether it's in a conversation where I'm co-hosting in a podcast or talking with a neighbor or about to teach a passage, going, okay, this is where I kind of will land interpreting this passage. But let me tell you about two other ideas that are just as prominent, and men and women who love the Lord and have spent their whole life studying scripture, they think that this is the best interpretation. I think I have just found so much more. It really is just humility and grace of, listen, no one knows it all, and an appreciation for that. So I think that, and just the awareness of, gosh, the depth of the Lord, the depth of the church, of his workings here on earth. It gives you both an awe of, wow, I can't believe we get to be part of this, and also a kind of heightens the responsibility of, we get to be a part of this. And so I think it's just kind of added a level of excitement for me too. And again, and some things that we might call ministry, but also just like as a mom and as a neighbor on a street with people who know the Lord and don't know the Lord, and just all the ways that our lives, we all have a sphere of influence, whether it's, thousands or 12. And that matters. And seminary can't not impact that.
I really appreciate that response, because a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about working with this ministry, presenting at their conference, whatever. And I love their statement of faith, because the main person, I won't give the name, kind of gave their view of some certain theological things, such as soteriology, but said, we've got a lot of people on our staff that think this way. I'd never seen that before on a ministry page. I was like, that's unbelievable humility to say, hey, this is what I believe, but we got some people that love Jesus that think a little differently than the boss. And I was like, wow, because, there is some context where, that would get you ousted. So I loved that response on the website, and I appreciate that response from you. Now, Gregory, one of the distinctives, which was almost completely missing from my seminary experience, was the mentoring, the mentorship. I was told, read the stack of books, here's your papers, here's your test, you're on your own. And I powered through with much sweating and late nights and, and lots of Pepto-Bismol. But how is the mentorship? What does that look like? The mentoring sessions as a big part of Redemption?
Great question. I'll try to answer it a little bit broader to throw a little additional context in there for the audience. First of all, as mentioned, I don't work in a ministry. I'm not in full-time ministry. When I started Redemption, I had no aspirations to move into full-time ministry. I just felt very strongly, and I was encouraged by, other personal mentors that I had outside of the mentor that you just asked me about, saying, yeah, you've been a Christian for a long while, 40 years, whatever. If you're feeling this urge to dive deeper and learn the Bible better, much in the way that Jessica was describing, it's a good process to go through. So for that, that's really the only reason I jumped in. Everything else you described, Scott, about your process, I was given a pile of books, felt sometimes like I was thrown a bit to the wolves, no offense. Tons of late night hours, which I've noticed I am not as well suited for as I was when I was much younger. Anyway, it's a different conversation. But yeah, all of that is exactly the same. I don't know how I would have been able to be successful without I believe it was weekly or bi-weekly, it was at minimum bi-weekly check-ins with my mentors. And per each class, I had different mentors. I started noticing I worked well with specific mentors, so I would, keep reselecting those, but I had the option to select a new mentor for every single class that I took. That centered me. Multiple times my mentor was like real practical. Greg, take a break, stop what you're doing. You're getting lost in the weeds, refocus. I need you to grab this specific book, look at chapter 2, reread it, and apply that to the question that I'm asking you to answer over here. And the refocusing on that, and even having a mentor be able, like, my personality is such that I tend to, and I think this is vehemently anti-Christian, and it's kind of blended into our society in this Western hemisphere, but I tend to feel like I can muscle through everything on my own. I dropped out of, interestingly, I dropped out of college. So up until very recently, a couple of months ago when I graduated, I had no college degree at all. I found success and my place in the world by muscling through it, in cybersecurity, et cetera. So it became very normal for me to feel like if I just, put the long hours in and do the trainings and read the books and watch the YouTube videos and study hard, I can accomplish it. Like Jessica said, this process was humbling in that it showed me exactly how much I didn't know, and it showed me how much I absolutely need other people to walk through this with me. And that's where the mentorship fed that. I have maintained a relationship with 2 of my mentors right now. Like, I got the degree hung up in my office. I'm done with it, but I still keep a very, very close relationship with those mentors because they have impacted my life at that level. So that's kind of like a day in the life of studying with a mentor. I don't know how I would have done it before. And I'll add one other extra piece of context, which probably might be interesting for your audience. College dropout, had to do a lot of extra work to get accepted into Redemption, but this, it was part of their mission. And upon graduating, I applied with the help of Joel Wingo and Dr. Schwank. I applied to an accredited university called Tyros University up in, I believe, South Dakota, if I remember correctly. And I was now accepted on the basis of my degree that I just got from Redemption. I have now been accepted into their doctorate program for theology. And I'm starting that in September. Like, literally could not have done that in the state that my educational journey was in. Frankly, and this was the conversation I had with Dr. Heiser, I had given up on ever doing education again. You know, I got started in college at a very young age at 16, and quit a couple of years in. Very stupid, immature, childish decision. Felt like I was smart enough and I could go and work, so let me just quit and go in the business world. And I found success there, but it caused me to write off and say, I'm not deserving of having a degree. And I didn't fit into that degree template that, you know, Dr. Heiser and Dr. Schwant and yourself, Scott, have been describing, you know, the typical way it goes. So even the name Redemption in the seminary, really apropos in my life, in the context of where I find myself in. So I'm gonna shut up now because I know there's
no, that was fantastic. Fantastic. All right, Jessica, another question for you. You know, what does the process look like as you're, you know, somebody's gonna hopefully be encouraged today after what we've heard. I'm going to go to the site that we're going to give you here in a moment and at least fill out an application. I'm interested. And then lo and behold, you got your first class. What does that even look like? You know, is it self-paced? What's the time commitment? That kind of thing.
Yeah. It is self-paced. Before I start on that, and I know we're supposed to keep this short, I just have to echo what Gregory was just saying about having a mentor. Life-changing. Just that in and of itself, if all you could, that in and of itself is worth all the time, all the effort to get to speak to a mentor for 30 minutes every week. Some of my mentors, I mean, have changed my life in very significant ways. So I have to say that. So one of the first things you do would be to choose a mentor. And there are mentors from all different types of backgrounds. With their bios up on the website, you can look through and see who would I jive with, who would I align with, and also stretch yourself a little bit. Who would I not, and who would it be helpful for me to learn from? So there is a long list of mentors that you can choose from, and then it is self-paced. So I work full-time on ministry. During my journey through going through redemption, I was also finishing a book, and so you also involved in other things, but it's go at your own pace. So I chose to go at a very fast pace. And so I would work for a few hours every day in my classes. But you don't have to do that. You can take as long as you'd like. You can go as quickly as you'd like. I mean, obviously it's good to absorb what you're learning. So I wouldn't just say like breeze through it. So yeah, go at your own pace. You get a program journal. It tells you step by step exactly what to do. You know what you have videos that you watch, and then you go back in where there's lectures that you watch. You go back in and there's questions that you answer about each unit. At the end of each unit, you have a mentor call that you've set up already. That's 30 minutes where they make sure that you're understanding what you learned, not just regurgitating it, which I think, is a traditional sort of a model, but truly understand what you're learning and how it applies to your context. Those questions for me, like, okay, great, Jess, how does this apply exactly to where you're ministering right now? And then helping me think through that, so valuable. So that's what it looks like. You work through the whole thing. All the reading is there as well. Everything is self-contained. You're not having to jump to a million different things, pull out all these different books, remember where you're at. It's all right there. So super accessible, very easy to use. Felt it very easy to use. Questions, and can I just say too, what it starts with is spiritual formation, which is then revisited all throughout the program. So it isn't just that you're learning knowledge, it's that you're looking at your life and seeing how that knowledge does change who you are.
Awesome. Yeah, and I do appreciate the self-paced nature of redemption, because I remember, again, when I was in school, it was not self-paced. It was like, you got to get this done in 8 weeks. Life happens, I got a million kids, as weddings, and it's like, oh, I really can't be in a class. It didn't matter. It was like, you got to get this done. And, most of you know that we have some very distinguished NFL players actually attending Redemption who think about their crazy life, seasons and training, and so they hunker down in the off season, get as much done, and then so I love the fact that Redemption is self-paced. Hannah, kind of in line with what Jessica just gave great input on the self-paced, but how does it fit into your busy life? One of the big focuses of Dr. Heiser was the relational impact of seminary. So what has been the relational impact of your journey with your spouse, with your kids, with those that you do life with? I think that would be some interesting input.
Yeah, I know Dr. Heiser would talk about the traditional model. There can really be a negative impact, and the desire that Redemption does not do that. And even better, that there's a positive impact, right? Like when I first sat down and really started thinking about this and talked with my husband and said, this is what I think it's going to look like. If this makes you nervous, and because of our time and balancing, we have 3 kids, they're 5, 4, and 2. He does a lot so that I can be in my office working on my classes. And so we talked about that in advance, but if he was here today, he would probably say, like, honestly, I barely noticed that she's doing her coursework. Like, it really hasn't been that big of a deal for us. My kids, my 4-year-old, like, he would have been 3 at the time, but a few months into me doing my coursework, I typically get up early before my kids do. I work on class for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I usually put in another hour, hour and a half after they're in bed. And then sometimes I might have to catch up on the weekends if we, had something going on one evening, or I just take Sunday mornings off, whatever. But a few months in, I went up to my then 3-year-old and said, hey, what are you working on? He was cutting some things at his little table. And he looked up at me and he said, sorry, Mama, I can't play with you right now. I'm doing seminary. And then went back to his, but so that's what I would say. My kids know, they know Mom's in her office. She's working on her classes. But going back to kind of what we were talking about before, I am a better mom and a wife because of what I am learning in this program, because my love for the Lord is deepening. My love for others is deepening. And I think I'm in 2 theology classes right now. And that's just what I keep coming back to, is theology should drive us to worship and to love the Lord and others more deeply. And so, yeah, is there an impact of me being in seminary? Logistically, yes, but spiritually, what an even greater impact. So if I can do it, you can do it. That's what I tell my friends who are interested. I'm like, if I can do it, you can do it.
Well, you know what? I think everybody has said this, and I think it's very, it's awesome, the fact that the spiritual formation that is developed as you're taking these classes. The cliche out there is cemetery, back in the day when it was just memorizing, reading, and that was it. I love the fact that so much, and I think, everybody, my son is a student, actually graduate now. And one of the things also for him was the mentoring sessions, just the kind of very pastoral. It was taking very lofty, heady theology, but trying to get it inside, that it bears fruit for the kingdom. And it should be an overflow. I mean, the more we learn about the Lord, if it's not affecting the way you treat others, then something's seriously wrong. So I really, really, again, can't stress enough how vital not only the spiritual formation focus at Redemption, but also the mentoring. All right, so that's we'll have some more student questions, but I did want to bring in some of the more administrative side, because I know there's probably some questions about accreditation, and then for all the Heiserites that have joined us, what is the connection with Awakening and their certificate and things like that. So first question I will throw out there to Joel. What is the accreditation status right now and the plans for Redemption?
Thanks, Scott, and hello, everyone. Great question. We get this a lot. We started receiving our first students in 2020. And so accreditation is a multi-year long process, but we have good news. We're actually listed right now as an institution to be considered for accreditation by the accreditor we're aiming to work with and get accredited by, the Distance Education Accrediting Commission. We're now listed as an institution to be considered this January when they vote. So the decision rests with them, but we've successfully turned in several self-studies. They like some of the things that we have to offer, like one-on-one mentoring by a professor with a doctoral degree. That's pretty hard to find, but it satisfies that qualified interaction with a professor that you need in distance education. Also, every student has all their learning resources because of Logos and mobile ed. So that's another positive. And then, of course, we're designed to meet the needs of this particular audience, adult Christian learners who are able to keep ministering in their settings and still grow through their education at the same time. So there's a few factors that have worked in our favor. Our president, Dr. Schwant, and I, that's been a big part of what we do, working together, and with Tracy as well, this accreditation journey. So as of today, we're not yet accredited, but we have good news in that we are to be considered for accreditation this January, and we have our site visit, which is a big step with the evaluation team coming this August. So lots of good things we're thankful for there. And for anyone who's curious, the Distance Education Accrediting Commission, DEAC, their website is deac.org. You can look up institutions to be considered there and see our seminary's name listed. And also they are recognized by the accreditor of accreditors, CHIA, and also by the U.S. Department of Education. So they check all the boxes there, and we've really benefited from working with them. As many people know, accreditation is both a quality assurance process, so telling the public someone has evaluated the school, and so you're not likely to be defrauded. And this has been an issue in online education where students don't get a good value for the money that they pay. So this is a way of assuring the public that this is a quality program, but it's also a quality improvement process. So we're doing it not only for the accountability aspect, but because it also helps us improve as we work to raise our standards and meet all these standards that are related to quality assurance. So why are we doing this? We're doing this because it's better for our students. Many students don't really care about accreditation. They don't need this for a job, but it could be that down the road, even those students who aren't too concerned about it will benefit from this. And so that's why we're doing it. And that's where we're at as of today.
Awesome. And go ahead and speak into the relationship with AWKNG, the Certificate in Biblical Studies, which we all know that Dr. Heiser was, hugely foundational in that school. But what's the partnership between AWKNG and Redemption?
We have a unique partnership with AWKNG School of Theology, and it came about because Dr. Heiser was foundational in starting Redemption and also AWKNG being his school. And so it's pretty amazing. It's the only institution we have a written articulation agreement with to receive transfer credits. It's possible that maybe some other courses could transfer from other seminaries, but with AWKNG, it's special in that we've reviewed their curriculum. We know Dr. Heiser, obviously the primary teacher. And because of that, AWKNG students who graduate with the certificate, and you can check the details on each of our websites, you actually get transfer credit for the 6-credit course, Theology and Culture and Context. So 6 credits that you don't have to take at Redemption. That saves money for students who are coming in with that. And so it's a huge benefit for those that complete AWKNG School of Theology and want to continue on with something that fits Dr. Heiser's vision for theological education. He was all about reaching more people with seminary education, seminary level education, like what you get at AWKNG. We're continuing that toward a master's degree here, and we want to see more people equipped in the church, wherever their paycheck comes from. The church needs more highly equipped people, and that's something that Dr. Heiser was so passionate about, that he dedicated his life to, and we want to carry that on. And so helping with a little bit of an incentive to make it easier to finish your master's degree was the desire with that agreement. So 6 credits, 1 course you don't have to take.
So for those that have either been a student or currently a student at AWKNG School of Theology and are like, wow, this is awesome, I do want to pursue a master's degree, the perfect next step is to contact us at Redemption, fill out the form. So that would be a good segue there, John, for the, people watching. Wow, this sounds incredibly interesting. What do I do? What website do I go to? I know that there's a special offer right now, and then we'll come back for another 10, 15 minutes. I've got a few more questions, but John, where do interested viewers go for enrolling in Redemption?
So redemptionseminary.org/why not, with no spaces, just why not all together. Yeah, we have that's the place where you can start the application process, or in some circumstances, there has to be a waiting list depending on your state of residence, but that's the place where we'll start that conversation and we'll get you into the fold one way or another. So that's where you can take advantage of the offer, special offer of 20% off your first course and $20 off the application fee. So redemptionseminary.org/why not.
Okay, and with that, last question for faculty, and I saved this one for John Schwant, Dr. Schwant, because it's an original language, biblical language question. Does Redemption offer biblical languages? And John, if you like, you could actually answer this in Greek. So go ahead.
Never fails. I would, yes. So Greek is a personal passion of mine. Actually, I am always surrounded by a Greek book. And so here's mine, actually. So I have invested a lot of my life into this. I think it's an important part. I don't think it should be a barrier, though. I think there should be lots of on-ramps to learning biblical languages. So it would be strange for me to be a part of any institution that didn't offer biblical languages. And so we're limited on what new programs we can produce during the accreditation process. And if you're watching this recorded, check this information about where we are in accreditation might be old. So please check the Redemption website to see our current status on that. So as soon as we finish that process, we can launch new programs. We will be producing new courses in original languages, and you can expect those in next year, 2024.
All right. Yeah, I think now's I do want to reiterate the distinctives again. For those of you that have stayed with us to the end, we're almost at the end. We are going to open up the floor for some questions. So hopefully Jorge and John have pulled some. I know that we've already got a few in the Zoom chat, but I don't know what's out there on YouTube and the other social media channels. But I actually let's have Gregory one more time. Is seminary just for the professional? It's the person on the pastoral track. I know many of you are in full-time ministry, whether it be writing, podcasting, but I really am intrigued by your story, Gregory. I'm not in full-time ministry per se. I mean, I work at Logos, but I'm not a preacher, pastor. I'm not teaching theology per se. So, talk to those that have given themselves that excuse that I'm not in full-time ministry. So why would I consider going to seminary?
Well, first I got to call you out on one thing, Scott. I've seen you on many a podcast. You absolutely do teach, but agree to disagree. Back to the question that you asked me. As I stated before, I have no machinations in my mind, imaginations or anything else of going into ministry. I'm not averse to it. Many times over my 40+ year life as a Christian, I've asked God, okay, I guess you need me to quit this computer stuff now and go and be a preacher. And many times, every single time, God has corrected me and no, keep doing what you're doing. The time will come. I'll just follow my lead. Because I tend to want to power through everything. So I tend to want to, be very, very quick. FYI, for some of the people in the Q&A that were asking, I think a course lasts 7 weeks or 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. I think it was 6 weeks and 1 week of the final, wrap up with all the final output, etc. So it's about 7 weeks. That's how long one course takes. I was taking one course at a time, except for one summer when I decided to take 2 courses. Don't do that. But I was taking one course at a time, one after the other, If you keep that pace, you can get through it relatively quickly. You don't have to. You could take a break, take some time off, etc. But an actual course takes about 7 weeks from soup to nuts, beginning to end. Why would you do this if you have no aspirations of becoming a minister, going to work in full-time ministry, etc.? I can speak for me. I engage with business executives on a weekly basis. Like, that's my job. I go and I speak to business people about their cybersecurity problems. How can they prevent bad hackers from doing bad stuff to them? And my biblical worldview is now able to be, because I have the language, the research skills, and everything else, I can apply what I've learned there into my daily work. So it's made my research on cybersecurity better. So just that alone, worth the price of admission for me. Like, I've had peers and other people that have noticed it. The next thing, though, because of the humility that it introduces, and I believe it was Hannah that mentioned this, you become so aware of, there are many things in the Bible, and I'm randomly paraphrasing Dr. Heiser here, that the Bible didn't, or God didn't intend to make clear in the Bible. Eschatology is a famous one. Like, there is no absolute, it's crystal clear, you gotta be, might get a little controversial here, pre-mill or post-mill or whatever. It's not clearly in the Bible. A popular one of the zeitgeist today is complementarianism. You know, should women be allowed to teach? That's a whole, now, before I came to Redemption, I assumed one way was the right way and the other way was the wrong way because it's in the Bible. I've now learned to be a little bit more humble, and my therapist says it's called meekness, because meekness is the ability to understand that you might be wrong, and it's okay to be wrong, or the opposite. It's okay for that other person to be wrong. You don't need to correct every single thing. So that it brought that into my worldview in a Christian context that I did not have before. We have been really, really well trained as Christians to be dogmatic. You know, I grew up learning that, you know, Genesis 1, it was all about, you know, God talking to the Trinity, and how dare you consider that as even something different. And we now form battle lines within the church on those types of very much ancillary, secondary things. And I think just going to an institution like Redemption, where you learn to read the Bible and understand it a little bit deeper, it breaks down a lot of those, bro, sis, it's not all crystal clear concrete because, you know, you grew up in Sunday school learning this. Sunday school is phenomenal. It made me the man that I am today. Some things we learned out of lack of having that knowledge, and Redemption helps fill in those gaps. It's kind of a long answer, but
no, great answer.
That helped someone. Great
answer. All right. So again, for those of you interested in finding out more, the website is redemptionseminary.org / my mom always asks, is it this way or that way? You know, it's that way / why not? I think Jorge's putting the website, and you can see the URL up there, and there's the special offer, discount on the application fee, and 20%. I mean, one of the distinctives of Redemption is the affordability. Actually, when I'm talking about Redemption, that's probably the thing I start with most, because today's seminary education, I think on average is upwards of $25,000, $30,000. Redemption is nowhere near that. So to get a 20% discount on your first course is phenomenal. So again, go to redemptionseminary.org / why not. Other distinctives, we know the accessibility, you know, online, you don't have to move anywhere. It just fits where you are at, your busy lifestyle. We've talked about the mentorships, world-renowned instructors. Like, literally, I hope all of you go to the Redemption website and see the lineup, because it is the rock stars of the seminary world. But I also wanted to give some time today for some Q&A. So again, I think we'll put the website up a few more times, and then wherever this decides to live, I know we're going to have this posted on YouTube, both some of Dr. Heiser's channels and Redemption, and then we'll obviously have the URL there to fill out your application. But Jorge and John, give us some questions and some answers from what you've heard today during our the hour we spent.
Well, Scott, I want to start by saying that we had a little glitch on our end here. For some reason, Zoom just kicked us out, so we started back up. Questions are back up. So I lost a couple of questions, but I was able to salvage a few. I always have a backup. So I have actually one from the first before the glitch. It says, feeling called to the Anglican priesthood. Would Redemption Seminary help serve towards a Master of Divinity? Is that something you guys can answer?
Is that John or Joel?
Yeah, I can answer this. So a Master of Divinity is a degree that is usually 72 to 90 or higher. And so our degree in MA is 36 credits. And so yeah, usually those can be applied to another program and be a nested part of an MDiv program. I would recommend, though, doing what Gregory did. Instead of an MDiv, just go on and get a Doctor of Ministry after the MA. It's a higher level degree, and that'd be my personal advice. But it would fold in.
I got another question here. He says, and I think you answered this on the chat, but I want you to answer this for everyone who are watching. We have over 100 people watching live right now. And the question is, if you don't have an undergraduate degree, can I attend Redemption? Is there a program to get some sort of undergraduate so I can attend the seminary?
Joel, do you want that?
Yes. So part of our purpose is to reach people that don't have the traditional degree profile that seminaries normally require, which is an undergraduate degree. Accreditation requirements don't allow us to fully open up the door to where an undergrad degree isn't the typical requirement. So it is still the typical requirement to get into our master's program, but we can make a limited number of exceptions per year. And so we have filled our quota of what we can allow for exceptions for 2023, but those interested in a slot for that kind of exception for 2024 could go ahead and apply. And anyone is welcome to take courses on a non-graded basis, which means you still have access to the library, all the learning materials under that non-graded status. So the same self-paced part of the courses that everyone gets, you would still be able to do that. And then the mentoring part, where you do that 7-week series of meetings with a mentor and get your final grade and credit for the course, that's the part that applies to the master's degree that we can't do until next year if you don't have an undergraduate degree. But we do have some people starting early, and that work they do now and the money they pay for that part of it would still apply should they get an exception for next year. So we encourage you to still come our way. We have options for you. And we want to do everything we can to admit as many students as possible who don't have that traditional undergrad degree.
Interesting. I got another question here by Jason. He says, what states can participate in the Redemption Seminary? Last time I checked, about 8 months ago, he says Nevada wasn't one. Has that changed as far as Nevada?
Well, you can see the list of states that we can't yet serve at redemptionseminary.org/why not. And we're expecting this these states to unlock these states in the coming year. So Nevada we're still waiting on Nevada, and that's going to be dependent on our accreditation. So still waiting on Nevada. We can, though, if you want to get started, you can do non-graded work, where it's audit, where it's the same portfolios, it's the same coursework, you get all the same, everything unlocked, you just don't have mentoring. And then when the mentoring is able to be used, you can, you're using those same portfolios. So that is an option if you want to do self-work in those states.
That's good. Another question is, how affordable is it? This is one of the questions that are going to be foundational for a lot of people on the other side of the screen, because they work, they have kids, mortgages, et cetera, et cetera. How affordable is it?
I don't feel like I don't want to be answering all the questions, but I think we're dedicated. It's one of our commitments is to stay affordable. And so we have metrics of the median income. That's how we price things. So a lot of people are asking, well, once you get accredited, are you going to raise your prices? We're not going to raise prices based on accreditation. We are setting our prices based on what is affordable. So we're consciously coming in lower than I'm paying for my junior high Christian school for my kids. We're trying to keep it lower than the a used car payment, and then make it possible for someone who to space payments out. So if everybody has a different budget schedule, so you're not locked in to making a payment every month, where if you need to save up for a little bit, you can take those breaks and work through. However, you can stretch it out for as long as you need to. So we're committed to making it and keeping it affordable.
Good deal. I know Gregory want to say something, and then we're going to run to another question because we have to finish within 10 minutes.
Yeah, just want to contribute to what that question about affordability and what Dr. Schwant was saying. I can appreciate that it's always difficult to talk about your own baby. So as a student that has now completed it, let me give my feedback on affordability. Like everything in life, it requires sacrifice. I have 4 kids, 1 wife, 1 house. I got bills just like everyone else. I had to make a conscientious effort and make a sacrifice that this was going to be important, and I was going to put this aside. The school had a very clear process of, listen, we can break it up into payments. So every month I was making the same payment. So it was very budgetable, I could plan against it. I needed to take a little time to set my budget up, et cetera, and say, okay, I'm going to start today, and then know that for the next 3 years, every month, I'm going to pay this amount. So is it free? No. Is it easy? Heck no. Is it absolutely doable? Yes. Will it require sacrifice? Like everything good in life, it will require sacrifice, but it is doable.
It's a very good answer. Very good answer. I do want to, again, remind all of you on the other side of the screen that are watching across Dr. Michael Heiser's social media that you can go to Redemption Seminary, all one word, .org/why not. And then you can see the special offer that we have for you. Start with the application today, receive $20 off your application fee and 20% discount on the first seminary course you registered for this year. And I'm not going to read everything. You can do that, but go ahead on and check out what you get from Logos Bible Software, how this differ from different seminaries. I mean, it is definitely an amazing option for you to come and change your seminary education, your theological education. You got to come and be a student of the word. Mike used to say, Bible reading and Bible study are 2 different things. And believe me, the Bible is full of weird stuff that we know is important. So we have to make sure that we come to Redemption Seminary, sign up, and then you will be on your way. I have 5 minutes and a couple of questions here. So we have Sarah. She asked the following question. She says, what advice can you give for someone who does not have any theology background but is interested in theology or seminary? Where does one start? Guess my question, which module should I start with?
I'll let somebody else answer this one.
Joel.
Well, some of the students may have an opinion on their favorite course, but our typical recommended sequence starts with a course that's a little bit unusual for seminary, and it's often a neglected topic, and that is leadership and spiritual formation for leaders. So that's our first course in the program. We recommend people start with that one because it lays a good personal foundation for your own growth throughout the seminary program ahead. We do have some exceptions to that are possible, especially if you're in a non-graded type of route, just kind of checking it out. We have courses on Old Testament, New Testament, 2 courses on systematic theology, a course on discipleship, church history, and several more. So you can choose the course you want, but we recommend starting with the spiritual formation course.
It's very good. We have actually, I'm going to squeeze another question there. Because we have people from overseas. We have Marvin from India. We got another one. He doesn't tell. Oh, Canada. He says, is this going to be available to international students, and also in the future with an accredited undergraduate degree? So, can international students attend Redemption right now?
Yes, international students can attend. It's only the U.S. is strange. We just have states' rights issues. We don't have international issues for schools. So it's wide open for international students. It's actually very easy, and we have mentors in other countries. So yeah, that's perfectly welcome, and we love it.
Awesome.
And then
Awesome.
the
So-
undergraduate question there, John. I think there was a question about
Unmute. There we go. The undergraduate. Right now, we don't have an undergraduate degree in the planning. That is long term on the horizon, but we do have a process for accepting people with life experience without an MA. We have a process for doing that, and that is our heart, especially with adults that really are far enough in their life that they don't want to take a 120 credit undergrad degree. It doesn't make sense for them. So we're pushing in both of those directions. So the exceptional route or audit non-graded route is currently available. And then long term, way down, years out, we do hope to offer an undergraduate or undergraduate equivalent.
Very good, very good. Well, remember, go to redemptionseminary.org, or one word, /why not. Go ahead on and sign up. This is going to be a terrific investment for your life and everybody who's going to be impacted by you going deep into God's word. This is what we're called to do. We're called not to just stay drinking milk. We are called to go deeper into God's word and to be able to use this to transform our hearts and all of those around us. Like I said, it is the good infection, just like C.S. Lewis said it. This is something that we got to pass down first to our children and everybody else that we come in contact with. Is the Great Commission. It is not, we're not called to make believers. We're called to make disciples, and through seminary we make disciples. Scott.
Hey, thanks everybody for joining, for committing a good hour and 11 minutes of your time. Thank you for our panelists as well. I know it was a commitment on your part as well, so thank you. And it was really good to hear from real students currently enrolled, graduated. Congratulations to those that have graduated. But again, for those of you that have stayed with us, if anything we talked about today intrigued you, interested you, please go to the website, just enroll and ask any questions. All the contact information's on the website as well. And maybe when we do this again in 6 months, all the new students we see participating will be those that watched today. That would be absolutely awesome. So thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you again.
All right. Bye-bye.